Hello, gentlemen. Good morning, everyone. I will call to order this Regional Transportation Commission meeting. And we will start with a roll call. Madam Clerk?
Good morning. Sajid Sularia.
Here.
Ed Lawson. Devin Reese.
Here.
Alexis Hill.
Here.
Bill Thomas.
Here.
Mariluz Garcia.
Here.
Adam Spear.
Here.
Thank you. We have a quorum.
Thank you so much. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. If Councilmember Reese could lead us.
I be proud to do so. Please join me in our salute to the flag. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. We'll now move into public comment. This is public comment taken under this item may pertain to both matters on and off the agenda. The chair may take public comment on a particular item on the agenda at the time it's discussed. Comments are to be made to the board as a whole and not to individual commissioners. Madam Clerk.
Good morning. We have Carlos Elizondo Reina.
Good morning. My name is Carlos Elizondo Reina. The reason I am here is to talk about during construction, Virginia Street, all the buses should be considered stop, wherever there is open stops. Because the Virginia line says it's not my stop, and then you have to walk back or walk around and during construction, it's a must, you have to consider, stop at the close to start the next to the one you want to get off. So I'm not talking all the drivers do that, but some of the drivers, they say that's not my stop. And the other thing is about Johnny Choyo Company that you have on 4th Street Station. I'm speaking for the men's problems because I don't know about their women's problems. But it's really spotty, man. Even after they clean it, it's really spotty all over. I mean, they don't do a good job, or it's the chemicals they use. And it's really messy, really bad job, that they're doing. You just take it. If you take the time and go and thoroughly look around, you will see how it looks for a street station. Outside, it doesn't look like there is a janitorial, but for the amount of people, employees working there, I mean, the job is not getting done. You're throwing money away. Just take your time, go thoroughly and look around. And you look inside the 4th Street, North 4th Street building. Inside, I mean, it's so scratched. I was just looking, it's so scratched from the chair that they move around to clean under. You don't even have to move around. You just sweep them up or under the this. It's pretty bad, pretty in bad shape. I mean, you're just throwing money away there. And, all that oxygen and the arrestment from people, urinating, defecating and all that, it's just oxygen, it messes the floor. And it costs you repairs, So you just throw money away. Just go thoroughly, trust me, go thoroughly, look around, in and out, and you will know what I'm talking about. That was it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up is Donna Klontz.
Good morning, Mr. Thomas and Commission. My name is Donna Klontz. I live in Reno, and I'm here to talk about a couple of things regarding our senior community on behalf of Age Friendly Reno and also the Senior Coalition of Washoe County. We're very concerned and always have been with the way our seniors in our community get around. So transportation is a really important resource, and it's the gateway to getting folks the services they need. It's also the barrier if it doesn't work for them very well. And we have so many more folks aging that they can't drive anymore. I just helped a couple of my friends learn all the ways that they can get around, but even for them, it's going to be difficult because they live in a part of the county that isn't served by our buses very well. So I wanted to let the commission know, and also the community that watches what you do, about a forum that's coming up in August that's been organized by Southern Nevada Libraries. It's called Sidewalks to Systems Community Forums. And it's being offered in the south part of the state, but also we have 3 opportunities for folks in the north to get involved. And people are being asked to come in person, or they can also be involved in an online Zoom on August 26th. And the idea is to connect folks that are that need services, seniors, disabled, young people, those folks who usually have some issues with getting transportation. Our meeting here in Reno will be August 18th at the ADSD office on Professional Circle. There's also one at Carson City Library, and then the virtual one on the 26th that anyone can watch. And it will be in English and Spanish, and also ASL as well for folks, to be able to come with their stories and talk about the things that they see that are needed for better transportation to be able to get to the places they need to go. So I also wanted to give you the updated list of what's going on in July for our seniors as well. And then in my last few seconds, I was on Facebook the other day, and I don't go there every day, but a friend of mine had a story. She's a disabled person. She has a lot of mentally remembering kinds of issues these days. And she was trying to ride a bus, and she couldn't remember how to get on. And the folks on the bus, a lot of them were giving her a hard time, but the driver, she said, was really kind, helped her get on, and some of the passengers also helped her figure out how to actually sit down and take a seat. I mean, she's that far into her disability these days. So I just wanted to tell you that your folks are doing a great job out there, and they're taking care of people that really need that help to get where they need to go every day. Thank you.
Thank you. Please drop off those flyers with the clerk. Thank you.
Next up is Dora Martinez.
Really? You don't get to talk. Okay. Good morning, Chair, Alexis Hill, Vice Chair, and members of the commissioners. This is Dora Martinez. My friend, who is 84 years old, her name is Mary Pat, couldn't be here because of the early of the meeting, and she's in a nursing home. So I need to play this so you guys could hear what happened to her.
Living nursing home. I had polio as a child, and now I am in a
Screen curtain off.
On Saturday, October 4th, I was riding the bus.
July 4th.
Did I say October?
Yeah, that's okay. Keep going.
Start again.
No, keep going.
On Saturday, July 4th, I was in the access bus and going to a restaurant, but when I got there, the restaurant was closed. The driver called dispatch and asked what to do, and he said, dispatch said that I should be put off the bus and wait for another bus to come and pick me up, which would have been about an hour. I asked dispatch to call again to make sure that maybe I could stay on the bus, because by then I was very upset and crying that I would be put out in a deserted shopping center when all the stores are closed. They said, yes, I should get off the bus. I was in the process of getting off the bus on the lift of the bus when dispatch called again and told the driver to keep me on the bus to take me to his next fare and then bring me home. I think dispatchers should be aware that they should never put a disabled person off a bus, no matter what time or day, especially if they're by yourself or if they're disabled in any way in a place where they have to wait for another bus, especially almost an hour.
Good job.
Thank you.
So this is Dora. That was my friend Mary Pat, and you can tell she was very upset, and we just want a better treatment and comprehensive training so people are not left in the deserted area, especially if it's really hot or really cold. The transportation is great, and we absolutely appreciate the bus drivers, and we need this to be better, Miss Alexis Hill and all the commissioners. This is just some of the stories that I can bring in, and I use them with my meta glasses. I don't know if she was cut off or not, but the audio is important for you all to hear. And I also want to thank all of you. As you all know, 36 years of ADA anniversary is July 26th, and thank you to this body. And this is the only one that's going on in this state so far because Southern are not doing it. I understand that it's going to be free ride that day for all access clients and RTC, I think. If that's still so, I would encourage Petra and the members of the MTM to please send out a message so people can use that day to do what they need to do because they don't know.
Yes. Thank you.
Madam
Thank
Chair.
you
I
so
appreciate you.
much. Yeah,
Yes.
thank you.
Thank you.
I just want to note that the video from Mary P. Clark was emailed to me yesterday and forwarded to the commissioners
Thank
last night.
you. Yes.
And no more public comment.
Okay, great. Well, Mr. Thomas, is there any changes to the agenda?
No change.
Okay.
To approve.
Thank you. Vice Chair Reese?
Second.
Thank you. Mayor Lawson? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say nay. That passes unanimously. We'll now move to the consent items. Do any board members wish to pull anything from consent? Not hearing any. I'd love a motion to approve, please.
Move to approve.
Thank you. Commissioner Garcia?
Second.
Thank you. Vice Chair Reese? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, please say nay. All right, we'll move on. That passes unanimously. We'll move on to discussion items and presentations. 5.1, receive a presentation on RTC's Youth Ride Free Pass program for discussion and possible direction. This is informational only. Mr. Gee, welcome.
Members of the board, good morning. For the record, my name is Jim Gee. I'm the Director of Public Transit here at RTC. And I have the privilege of telling you how the Youth Pass program went for the first year. This presentation will outline some of the history, discuss part of the marketing involved, look at the results of the program, and then recommendations for next steps. So as this program started a little more than a year ago, the goals that we heard from you as the board were twofold. First, training that next generation of riders is important for us as an agency. And second, and perhaps more significantly, being a good community partner and working collaboratively with the school district on addressing a big community issue, which is chronic absenteeism in our school. And so we were really happy to take on that challenge and work with the school district. And back in April of 2025, both this board and the school district board approved a one-year MOU to develop a program to provide free rides for Washoe County students on board our services. Those free rides were only on RIDE, which is our fixed route service, but it was 7 days a week, 365 days a year, with a joint marketing campaign to be held by both the schools, who had access to the students and the parents directly, and RTC, who had more holistic access, especially to the parents and family members and so on. The program itself launched at the end of school in May. We did add validators to our buses in August so that the kids could be able to scan and tap the validator with their phone. And we started with Washoe County Schools. We were able to add Washoe County affiliated charter schools. And then other charter schools we added on a case-by-case basis by using basically hard plastic cards. For students who did not have phones or did not have data plans, they were also given a hard plastic card that would work on the validator. I would note that the school district took the lead on the distribution of those cards. I'd especially like to call out Doug Taylor, who's the chief attendance officer. Doug went school to school, meeting to meeting, promoted the program, passed out cards to kids who needed it, and they were just a phenomenal partner. Both RTC and the school district hosted marketing and had marketing content around how to sign up for the service and how to use the service. At RTC, we developed cards for the inside of the buses for folks to look at. We did some how-to videos that were designed for both parents and teachers. Parents and students. And I think if I hit play, one of these videos will play.
Want to know my secret for getting around Reno without a car? I use RTC's Youth Pass, and I can ride the bus for free. Free rides to school, work, the mall, my friend's house, anywhere RTC goes. Youth Pass is for K-12 students in Washoe County School District. Here's how to sign up in 3 easy steps. Step 1. Download the Token Transit app and create an account using your phone number. Step 2. Fill out the Youth Pass sign-up form. You can find it on rtcwashoe.com/youth. Step 3. Once you're done, you'll see a green confirmation page. Tap the link to activate the pass, then tap Redeem in the app. The pass will show up under My Passes. Scan it, ride, done. RTC gives me freedom right now. Thanks, RTC.
So I would note that the part of the registration process included validation for the students to make sure they were students. That validation was done on the back end by the school district and within their database. So we at RTC did not have access to their data. Token Transit did not have access to the data because we wanted to make sure that the students' information was protected. But with that validation, we were able to make sure that it was only students utilizing the program. The campaign itself was very successful. Our in-house graphics folks did a phenomenal job pushing it out here. And you can see nearly 480,000 users reached, 35,000 clicks, a click-through rate of 1.54%, which the standard is typically 1%. And incidentally, the best performing videos were the videos designed for the parents as opposed to the students. And the parents wanted to make sure that their kids were able to get to school. As a part of that marketing campaign, obviously, we utilized social media, and I would like to point out that we just had phenomenal positive reactions on social media to this program. And these are just a couple of examples here. The one on the left, where the mother says, you know, she's had to move into a hotel because she can't afford rent, but now she can get her kids to school because of this free pass program. And you know, it's just, you know, this is hard media for us to get a hold of, but it's just super in terms of what it does for us and what it really does in terms of lifting the community and making this program highlights successful. So let's talk about the results. Ultimately, at the end of the program, we distributed 4,800 passes to students. That total ridership resulted in about 240,000 trips over the school year, averaging about 1,400 per school day and about 600 on Saturdays, Sundays, and holidays. What we saw was this was a lot more than just trips to school. This is trips to work after school. This is trips to grandma's house on the weekend. This is a lot of just moving around the community that otherwise may not have happened. So we're really pleased with the success of the program. In terms of the registrations, obviously we had a peak when the program kicked off. We had a second peak when school started in August. But what is noteworthy here is really, it did not drop off throughout the school year. We constantly and continuously had students enrolling in the program throughout the entire school year, which is great. Student ridership, this is the uses per month and climbing throughout the school year. Did not drop off in spring, which we could have expected, or at least level off. It continued to grow. Obviously, June was a half month because of the school letting out, but it started fast and continued to grow throughout the year. And the same data for unique riders, where this is the number of unique students that we had in a particular month. And again, it grows throughout the school year. The ridership itself, what we did is we mapped the pickups and drop-offs by high school zone. And as we expected, it was the more inner city schools that had the most ridership. It was the schools that perhaps it might be single car households, or might be working parents, or for a lot of different reasons. But 40% of the trips went to Worcester zone, which is really significant. 21% in the Hug zone. You can see the rest here. But what I would also point out is a lot of the trips, Damani Ranch, McQueen, Reed, are in areas with really limited transit service. And yet there are still students out there who are utilizing it. Top routes and stops, we have a lot of data related to the service. The noteworthy one to me is Route 5, which is the Sun Valley route. That is where we held our kickoff press conference back in May of last year at Desert Skies Middle School. That route basically connected Desert Skies Middle School at the north end of Sun Valley with Sun Valley Elementary School, with Hug High School, and we had a flow of students up and down Sun Valley utilizing the bus. I mentioned Sun Valley Elementary School, and yes, we were having elementary kids using the service to get to school and get around the community. So it was, very good for them. Some of the positives with the program, we're very pleased with the ridership. I think it proves that students who may have not thought about public transit will use it if it's an option. We received a lot of excellent data. Fortunately, had a minimal behavior issues with the students, which was a concern. But I would just really like to point out the school district themselves, Adam Searcy, Doug Taylor, they have been great partners. Their marketing department, great partners with us, and really assisted us quite a bit to making sure we're successful. Some of the negatives, we believe, even though we said 240,000, that we're undercounting. That we have some drivers who are very regimented and make sure that kid scans that pass on every validator. And we have other drivers that when the bus pulls up, there's 30 kids at the bus stop, the driver just says, come on, get on. And we know that happens. And that's a good problem to have, I guess. But we do believe we are undercounting. We also had some standing room only complaints, especially on Route 5, because that's the same route that goes to Winco on the north end. And so you have 30 students on the bus and you have a person or persons trying to get groceries, it becomes a pretty tight fit. And some of the other negatives, eventually we would like to integrate with the school district ID if we could, because, forcing the kid to have a cell phone or forcing the kid to have another card, sometimes kids forget and sometimes kids lose their cards. And the school ID, at least, they typically don't lose because they need it to move around the schools. And additionally, the non-Washoe County affiliated charter schools, getting that access to the database on the back ends to protect the students' data, that was a challenge. We wound up just handing them plastic cards just to be expedient, but it is something that we would like to work on better than in the future if permitted to do so. So options for next steps. Obviously, we can end the pilot today if we wish. We could extend it. We could modify it and expand the audiences, so that may require some more funding, especially in terms of lost fares. My personal recommendation is I would love the ability to go back to the school district and start talking with them about a longer term program that includes protection for RTC in case they need extra buses, but also clarifies that we're not competing against Yellow Bus, that this is a service meant to be on top of Yellow Bus. So it's clearly delineated on who gets what service. But I'm happy to answer any questions you have about the program. And again, thank you for letting us do this.
Thank you so much. Great information. I will go to the vice chair first. Do you have
Oh, thank you,
anything?
Madam Chair. I don't have anything that's earth-shattering, but I want to say, first of all, thank you for leaning in. Excellent presentation and an incredible program. I think there are a couple things I want to talk about in the slides, and maybe we'll start with the slide deck, and that'll help organize my thoughts. The slide that's titled Youth Ride Free, which says it started with Washoe County School District, including Washoe County School District charter schools, and added some charter schools later. I suppose what I want to say is I'm an absolute proponent of this program and believe that when we get to the options, I'll explain that the only option that's not on the table for me would be to end or discontinue the program. All the other options, I think, in combination probably are what I'm looking for. I want to make sure that we're not discounting students at TMCC, the university, trade schools, other schools, Paul Mitchell. I think all of these things are related to a broader concept, which is that transportation allows us access to economic freedom and upward mobility for jobs, school and education, reduces tardiness, absenteeism, all of that. So wherever we can expand it, I'm interested in that. The second thing, or I guess it would be the third thing now, is I wanted to look at the pie graph that shows where the ridership by high school zone is. This is a pretty compelling picture to me because when I look at the schools that are identified, I'm thinking that most of these schools demographically and socioeconomically represent kids who really need access, or young people who need access to transportation. And as you said, part of our goal is sort of equitable inclusion in a broader civil society. And so if transportation is the key to that, this graph highlights that for me. So good job, excellent. On the pilot positives, one of the things which I think might be emphasized, but which is not emphasized here, is that we are creating future riders, right? And so by training young people that public transportation is an opportunity and it can be used and used safely, we are creating future riders, which means that it helps the system larger than beyond that. The other thing that's not included on here is positive benefits to what we'll just call it environmental benefits, right? We think transportation in all of its forms has consequences for our environment. Ones that have lesser ones are bikes and buses in many ways. So that is something that I think is an included positive for the pilot. I didn't understand some of the pilot negatives, and I'll only stop here to pause to say, I do think integration at some point in time with IDs sounds great. Figure that out from a technology side. I don't know how that's done. But what I will say is, I suppose it's kind of like when someone gets on the bus, if they look a student, aren't they a student, right? Like a 13-year-old. Would we say you don't have an ID and you don't have this Clipper card or whatever RTC calls it, you can't ride? How does that work?
So if it is a student, but not part of the program, we would typically charge them the youth fare, which is a half-price fare.
Okay. Maybe we can work through that if we provide sufficient funding resources. Again, if the driver observes them to be a student, I don't know why we would want to collect a fare from them because they haven't yet signed up or done the important part there. Hopefully that gets worked out with the integration, right, with different.
Our drivers did show a lot of latitude.
I'm sure they
following
did.
that
They're very
policy.
graceful. And then the last thing on the options for next steps, and I'd like to hear my colleagues, but again, you've identified 4 of them. The only one that is not an option for me is the discontinuation of the program. And then all the other ones seem to be related because I think there are good things about all of them. I do think longer term, perhaps the negotiated agreement with the Washoe County School District is an important part, only because we need to understand their needs and they need to understand our needs, and that MOU process might help us to do that. I of course, would like to see us expand and modify the programs I've already indicated to include all types of students. So, but thank you. Fantastic.
Thank you so much, Mayor Lawson.
I'm glad to see this success. I used to take my discretionary money and buy bus passes for Sparks High School. Many of those kids are working to help support their family, and many of those kids are also in after-school programs, athletics or whatever, band. That allows them to participate and be involved in that. So I'm truly excited about this because it hits home for me. Pretty cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Commissioner Garcia.
Thank you so much for the presentation. I think we've been eagerly waiting to hear the results and the data, and it was excellent the way you framed everything. I'm particularly thrilled because 70% of the ridership occurred in District 3, and so I know, I represent a very urban district, a high percentage of working class families, and this is a lifesaver for a lot of parents. And when your household budget is on such thin margins every single month, those bus passes can really add up, and it can become a choice between whether or not they go to school that day or not. So linking it back to the chronic absenteeism really is an important goal. And the partnership between the school district and RTC, it's a natural one. And when we target things like, reducing emissions or whether it's absenteeism, I think that it's a natural relationship, and we should do whatever we can to promote that moving forward. My question is about the budget. How much did this cost? Did you quantify that? I didn't see it anywhere in the slides. What were the costs incurred for RTC?
So we really had two costs. First was marketing, which mostly social media. I don't have that number in front of me, but it was fairly minimal. I mean, we did cards, we did social media. And then secondly, the other cost is really lost fares, which is less than a few $100,000 a year. Otherwise, we did not have to add buses. We purposely, with the MOU that we had with Washoe Schools, said we would not add a bus. If we do a future MOU, that's something we should think about, because there are times when, the bus leaving Desert Skies Middle School, there's 40 kids on it, and a second bus may have made sense, but it's not. That second bus, that cost should be shared by the school district, in my opinion. And so those are things that we would have to work out with the school district to protect RTC.
Yeah, and you're thinking about this agency and their organization, the wear and tear on buses. It's not cheap to maintain school district buses, the mechanics and all the maintenance involved. And so I know that there's cost savings on their part for them partnering with us, and then we're incurring some of these costs. So you're saying it fell a little bit below $300,000 to do this year.
I believe so.
Okay.
I could get you an
lost
actual
fares.
number, yes.
Okay, I think that's just important to know. And then my recommendation would be to bring this forward to the school board before we make any decision, because I think their input and insight is a really critical piece to this. So I didn't know if you were already scheduled to present to the school district trustees.
We have not yet.
Okay, that would be, I think, a natural next step for me.
That's a brilliant idea to do to make sure that they understand the impact of the project. So thank you so much for that suggestion. And I just want to give credit to Principal Nakashima, who reached out to me from Reno High School and said, we have a problem and our kids need to get around town. How many, passes do you have? And Bill's like, well, you've been wanting to implement free service. Maybe we start with kids, and see how the program goes. So I think it's been pretty remarkable. And thank you so much, Jim, for really embracing it. And your leadership on this has been amazing, because I know this was a ton of extra work. And so thank you, for partnering with the school district. And I can't wait to give the school district employees kudos as well for making this part of their program. There's also an absenteeism nonprofit that has been doing a lot of this work. Are they still working?
Yeah.
We should see if they can partner with us, or have we been talking to them at all? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Mike Kazmierski.
Bill
and,
has, yes.
Yes. You have?
Yeah, Jim and I actually did the recent tour with them, where they took a lot of community members through 3 schools and kind of showed how their program works. So
Okay.
we'll reach out to them.
And do they know the outcome of this? program?
They have not been presented this. No,
Okay,
this is
we
the
should
first-
talk to
Your eyes are
them.
the first ones who have seen this presentation.
Yeah, because that's great. Because I think that this is showing some really exciting numbers, and can't wait till we really push our other partners that aren't with the school district to come help us with the technology and the tracking piece, because I think that's going to be essential to continuing to show the success of the program. Okay, so we need to give Mr. Gee some direction, and I'm kind of with you, Vice Chair Reese, on what we do next. So do you want to?
I don't want to hazard a motion quite yet, Madam Chair. If I may just make a couple more comments and then come back. I think there's a lot going on here that is worth celebrating. One of the things I think too is that, and I think Mr. Gee, you know this well, that you have a board who has been pushing in a lot of areas, right? Whether it's micromobility, expanding this program, expanding some of our access programs for our senior and disabled riders. And I think it's because there's a broad commitment to public transportation, even though as a region, we may not be New York or Boston or some of these cities where public transportation is a very central component of their daily life. I think we see that in the future it may be, right? We're having these broad conversations about the Tahoe Regional Industrial Center, and we're talking about active railroad transportation programs. These are all related concepts, I think, for this board. And so I'm grateful for my colleagues here. You know, a couple of months ago, people were laughing because the mayor of New York was saying he wanted to do free busing, right? And everyone was saying, well, this is socialism, and my gosh, what are we doing? And yet what this reflects is a reasoned approach, I think, by this body and with your help about the ways in which we can do some social engineering with transportation, right? We're trying to make sure that that folks who need access to this type of transportation have it. There are certainly going to always be people who will drive wherever they go. But for those who don't have access to it, I think there's been a very major commitment here. I think this board, of course, has said, hey, let's explore making all ridership free, right? And we understand the limitations on that, right? And the cost of it, because, you know, this agency has a sort of a construction side of the house and a transportation side of the house. So again, this program has allowed us to focus on one small dynamic, and ultimately, I think the goal is the larger picture, like how do we make transportation both scalable and be able to afford it, right? Because we are practical people, if ever. So this is a good example of that type of programming, and I just thought it was worth mentioning. I don't know exactly, and Mr. Gee, maybe you would help us. What would be the ideal path forward, knowing now what we've said? We've obviously, you have the 4 bullet points, one of which I don't think any of us are interested in, which is the last one. And then the other ones all seem like they could be related and combined into one thing, because I think there's a lot there. And of course, as Commissioner Garcia said, the important part of including the Washoe County School District will be how this moves forward in the future. And so I suppose I'm looking for a little direction from staff or to Bill, to you, because I don't know that I would hazard a specific motion that would be like, here's what you must do, more like we all like these things.
And I don't know if a specific motion is necessary at this point. I mean, this guidance has been super helpful for me. I think next steps are to get this in front of the school district and get this in front of the community as a whole. And assuming the reaction is equally positive, then us sit down staff to staff and try to work out an agreement that makes the most sense for every party.
I think as the commissioners have posited, one of the issues is also talking with Mr. Kazmierski and Mr. Dermody about their investment and interest in the absenteeism part of this. So it's like a big many things in one. I think then you've heard the direction we have. Please make sure you've heard my hope that we would expand it beyond just traditional Washoe County School District students to see what we can do to expand it to all students seeking that educational opportunity. And otherwise, that would be my direction rather than a formal motion, unless you need one.
Oh, I think that's great direction. Mr. Thomas, do you feel like? Yeah, it's informational only. So, but giving the staff direction on next steps, I think,
That's perfect.
you know, hopefully it's clear as mud.
It is, and I think I'm not surprised by where you're at because I know all of you were passionate about this program when we started. I think the most important thing we would ask is just confirmation from the board, kind of following the lines of what Councilmember Reese said is, we got here by being strategic, and we really want this program to be effective. So the main thing I would suggest is let's not create situations where people take it for granted because we have limited resources and we have a lot of needs. And I think by being strategic how we do it, including, working closely with partners to understand the value to them, is going to make this even more successful. So I think the open-ended direction to proceed with this is all we really need at this point. And you will obviously be hearing more from us as we move this forward.
Okay. Thank you. Great
you.
work.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. Okay, we'll now move on to 5.2. This is a presentation regarding the progress of the RTC Active Transportation Program. This is also informational only.
All right. Good morning, Madam Chair, Commissioners. Dale Keller, Deputy Executive Director. So Vanessa and I will be providing an update on RTC's Regional Transportation Program. And today's presentation isn't just focused on one project. It's more about how the board's vision over the last 5 years has transformed into a more comprehensive living program as we deliver these projects across Washoe County. So active transportation isn't simply about bicycles. It's about building traffic management strategies that provides that safe connections to neighborhoods, schools, parks. We just heard about transit and also the jobs. These investments provide those transportation choices, support economic development, as well as create complete streets. So the key message today is that RTC has evolved from delivering these individual bike and ped projects into more a comprehensive regional active transportation program. This timeline really tells a story. So in 2022, the RTC board began discussing how micromobility could better integrate into the regional transportation system through that micromode strategies. So we all recognized that we couldn't build our way out of congestion, and how was the best way to convert the trips from a single occupancy vehicle. That same year, the Truckee Meadows Bike Alliance, as well as with partnership with the City of Reno and RTC, worked with the Dutch Cycling Embassy Think Bike Workshop, where we had international transportation experts work with our local agencies and communities develop how connected bikes and pedestrian networks could really improve that mobility and safety. And then lastly, in 2022, we partnered with the City of Reno on the Downtown Micromobility Pilot Project. Rather than just building infrastructure, we tested new concepts, we collected data, and we recognized what worked. So those efforts led directly into the Walk and Roll Truckee Meadows Regional Active Transportation Plan in 2024. And then in 2025, RTC formally launched the Active Transportation Program and started preparing those neighborhood network plans. And now here in 2026, we're moving from planning into implementation with the Biggest Little Bite Network, as well as moving forward with our 2 neighborhood quick build projects. So at this time, we'll turn over to Vanessa to talk about the planning process.
Good morning, Vanessa Lacer, Director of Planning for RTC. So this is our general planning process that we apply to all projects, but specifically for the active transportation projects. We always start with community input and data, and we really use the community input to ground truth that data. So we want to understand from residents where they need safer or more comfortable routes in order to walk and roll, bike and use bikes and be pedestrians. So we take a deep dive into the issues, develop solutions, and then we prioritize. We have a lot of needs, of course, in our community, and so we use regional goals and objectives to identify which projects will best meet our goals and really figure out where to start. Then once we've identified where we're starting, we can look for funding. We utilize local, state, and federal dollars, and we also pursue competitive grants if those other dollars are not existing. And finally, of course, we build these active transportation facilities, and those could include a low-cost quick build facility or a major capital investment with active transportation elements. So I want to dive in a little bit into our active transportation program that Dale mentioned previously. This was recommended by our 2024 Walk and Roll Truckee Meadows Active Transportation Plan and launched in 2025. So a new program. We do have dedicated funding that is identified for the construction of facilities, and we have a dedicated staff person as well. And so really in our first year we've been focusing on taking bicycle and pedestrian counts, understanding a baseline so that we can later count again and see the impact of our work. Our staff have been working on facilitating a new technical advisory committee, which we're calling ATTAC, the Active Transportation Technical Advisory Committee. And then, of course, the neighborhood network planning has been really the bulk of what we've been doing. So the neighborhood network planning, you've heard about this before. On the left side of your screen, you see a map of the 12 neighborhoods and then a list of those neighborhoods. They're not ranked. These are sort of arbitrary boundaries that we developed at the staff level related to where people live and where they might want to go. So trip generation, locations such as schools, coffee shops, things like that. So what we're doing here is looking to increase mode share, which means getting people out of cars and walking and rolling. And we do that by improving the comfort and safety of those walk and roll facilities, as well as just information and in further years of our program, perhaps doing more marketing around that. So we're taking a data-driven approach to facility improvement location. So what we're doing is looking at a number of factors to identify if we were to build something here, how many trips, walking and rolling trips would that generate? What's the impact of that facility? And we're looking at things like where people live and where they might want to go within about a mile of their residence. We're also looking at measures such as how many cars in the household, income, things like that. Something else that's different about this type of planning that we're doing is a focus on a complete network. So in the past, we were pretty much corridor driven, making improvements per corridor. Here, we're really looking at the connection both within the network and then in the neighborhood and then between neighborhoods as well, providing the opportunity for kind of a complete trip for folks. Quick build implementation is also a big part of what these neighborhood network plans work on, and really they're identifying where quick build would be appropriate and what type of improvement that would be. This is where we have that dedicated funding, $5 million per year, which breaks down to about $2.5 million per neighborhood. And so how we keep that cost low and the delivery quick is that we keep the improvements within the existing right-of-way, and we do things like striping, so paint, changing the road with paint, flex post, signage, and pedestrian enhancements at intersections. Things like a technique called daylighting, where we might use paint and flex posts to increase the size of the pedestrian landing pad, basically. Making sure that motorists can see pedestrians better, small changes like that. The last element of this program I wanted to touch on is this technical advisory committee, and this is important because it guides the program and the decisions made by staff. And we wanted to make sure, again, with that dedicated funding, that it's going to the highest and best use for the community. This group is comprised of representatives from the cities of Sparks and Reno, Washoe County School District, as well as the Northern Nevada Public Health District. So this group is tasked with advising on overall program strategy. Most of their work to date has been advising on the neighborhood network plans and also confirming the sequence in which we develop those plans. They will be a great part of evaluating the effectiveness of the quick build projects, generally identifying best practices for the region, and then making sure that we're coordinated so that we're coordinated with the work that these other groups are doing, these other planning departments are doing. So again, year one, we're very pleased with the progress to date, and we look forward to what's to come with this program. So I'll hand it back over to Dale.
Thank you, Vanessa. And I think that's one of the strengths of this program is really that partnership between planning and engineering. And so together we moved from that long-term vision now into project development and then into construction. So since 2020, we've constructed over 90 plus miles of new or improved facilities. We invested over $360 million with projects that include active transportation components. That includes over 12 plus major corridors. And then, as we discussed, over 28 miles of neighborhood improvements, those quick builds that now are in design. And these projects expand all throughout the Truckee Meadows, from Sun Valley, North Valleys, downtown Reno, the Sparks, and also in South Reno. So there are several major projects that are upcoming for construction, moving those ATP plans now into implementation. I want to highlight a few of them. First off, we have the biggest little bike network project connecting the university to downtown to Midtown. We actually opened up bids yesterday, and we're looking to begin construction here in mid-August. Next, the neighborhood quick builds. This is kind of an example of what is being shown. This is in Mayan and Avenida at intersections. Once again, low cost, high impact, promoting safety and providing transportation choices. Looking a little bit forward ahead into 2027, we have the 6th Street for All project that's in design. That was a $16 million federal Safe Street and Roads, or SS4A grant. And under construction is that West 4th Street safety, looking into those improving complete streets in downtown Reno. And lastly, the 2 projects is the Eagle Canyon safety project as well as the Military Road, showing that these ATP improvements also are incorporated in our suburban corridors and not just in our downtown areas. So looking forward and what's in the 2020-50 RTP, there's more than 550 million active transportation improvements or projects that include these components in the Truckee Meadows, from Sun Valley to Gregg Street and Sparks to South Virginia Street, once again making a complementary between transit and walking and rolling. And so to conclude, I think I want to leave the board with maybe 3 thoughts. First, I think over the last 5 years, we really transformed what this program looks like into more of an active living program. Second, we're talking about with Vanessa measurable results. What are we doing and the purpose of the why behind it? And then lastly, I think these improvements are more than just bikes, right? They're helping improve the safety, and they're also giving residents more transportation choices. So with that, Vanessa and I will be happy to answer questions.
Thank you. Great presentation, and it's so impressive of the work that has been done so quickly. Just curious, the 316 million, was that already spent? So on projects?
Correct.
Okay, great. Could you supply the board with a map of what we've done, like, green for sidewalk, or wherever we've done those improvements, so we have a better sense of what's already been done? Since we're not on every road in the community, that would be helpful. So looking to Commissioner Garcia.
I was in the zone here.
Sorry.
So ATTAC, I was looking at the advisory committees, what their tasks are. Can you talk to me about how they are going to evaluate? And they're just evaluating the quick builds, right?
Yes, so are you talking about evaluating the effectiveness
Yeah.
of okay. So at present, we're taking that baseline data. So we'll do the evaluation in about a year. We haven't gotten to that stage yet with them, but really what we're looking for with them is what should we be looking at as measures of success in order to determine impact.
And if something is not successful, you will hear from that group and we could make those remedies, right?
Exactly.
Okay. All right.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Okay, and Vice Chair Reese?
Thank you so much for the presentation. Gosh, it's sort of overwhelming, quite frankly, because there's so much involved here. I suppose for my part, I want to thank staff for their hard work, and also in the sort of multi-jurisdictional coordination that's going on, not only between RTC, the state, and each of the individual bodies, but our business community, which is affected by all of the work that you do. So there's considerable amount here to celebrate, and I just think that from my time on the board, I see a real strategic focus, a laser-like focus on these investments. I think Chair Hill is right that a visual map representing all of these projects is helpful, in part because when you serve on a board over a long period of time, it's like you can only shove so much information in your brain before it leaks out the other side. And I think sometimes what happens is, as electeds go, shelf life is short, and we see projects get greenlit at a particular time, and maybe they aren't built like tomorrow, but they're built over a period of time. And by the time we come around to understanding where all the projects have been, they've been built, and we've moved on to the next project. So I don't know how to more broadly celebrate the successes, because there's a lot going on here, and each one of these projects in a vacuum could be an exciting and really transformational project. I will say sometimes we see the projects in our neighborhood, and those are the ones that we're most familiar with, but I will tell you a couple of ones that have been really standout projects for me. One was the work done around the Washoe Golf Course and the tennis center. That was on Urban and Plumas, and sort of some of that work that was done there. A couple of the projects that have been done along 4th Street are ongoing, but have also been very transformational. And I'm certainly super excited about the Sun Valley improvements that are, I know, out there. We know that they're there now. What can we do as a board to more better support staff? I mean, obviously, we sit at a point where we're trying to cast a vision and make some decisions, but a presentation like this is a presentation, but what really happens is if you help us understand what your needs are to help you succeed in these projects, because I see this as all positive. And so I'm just wondering if there are things here that you need us to know about for our benefit to be more proactive or and less reactive to the projects that you bring forward.
Yeah, thank you, Chair Reese, or Vice Chair Reese. I'll say this program is new, and we're doing things a little bit differently. And each of you represent your local jurisdictions as well. And I think as we go back and understanding the why behind it and why we're moving in this direction, and it might be a little bit different than what we're normally traditionally doing. And so with that, that does take some chances, and we're actually going to jump out on a limb and go with us as an RTC a little bit. I think that overall from the ownership and maintenance, right? So I think as we look into the overall, how is this going to work? Some of the things we're saying that pilots. So for example, City of Reno pilot the micromobility downtown, and that's really helped gain some trust. It's like, oh, hey, we can figure this out. So doing this new, I think that's one thing that helps support from the RTC is how does this work with your jurisdictions?
Well, and I suppose building on that concept, I leaned over and asked Mr. Mayor, who I think is the longest serving on this body of the folks here today, like, what is the change? How do you describe the change to someone who maybe is on the outside looking in? Because I feel like there's all this positive momentum to move towards these projects, but I don't know if that's just because we're like, want to toot our own horn and look at us, we're so great. But how would you describe the change to a non-transportation person?
I think the traditional way of transportation planning was every street should have a bike lane on it. And as we went through that, we were looking at these bike lanes might have been fully utilized. And it goes back to why. And we look back in 2022, we talked about that micromode strategies and where, like, for example, we're not going to put a bike lane on I-580 or I-80 because nobody wants to ride it. And if you look at your neighborhood street that you live in, on that cul-de-sac, you feel comfortable riding in the street. So there's a place for these bicycles and riding and sidewalks and where do you put those type of infrastructure? That is the biggest change, is where and why, instead of, yep, every road should have a bike lane.
Well, and I think that when I first came onto this board, the Audie Wells Corridor project was really the starting point for some of that change. I know Commissioner Garcia was out with Councilmember Abbott doing some work there in the last week. It was pretty incredible. But it's like being able to drive those routes, I see it, and I believe it was always there, right? I don't remember what it was before that. So again, please let us know how we can help. I suppose that's how I would leave it. The update that you've given us today is incredible. I think we have made a commitment to, that active transportation element of it. Some of that, I suppose, comes from our ability, though, also to educate ourselves. I know most of us on this board have gone to some of the conferences that helped us to spark those ideas. So many of these things, I think, came from that, and just you're helping us to be educated to make those choices. So thank you so much.
Thank you. And Mayor Lawson. Okay. Mr. Thomas, you wanted to jump in. I apologize.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. So just a couple of points to highlight the conversation, which I think has been very good for this program. The short ask is really, we need champions, and that's what all of you are. And so this may seem a little bit repetitive when we do these presentations, but it's to remind you, because you have a lot going on, as you mentioned in your world. Like there's a strategy here. There's an end state we're trying to get to. And what I would describe it as, historically, we've been in this situation where there's like a fight between roads and bikes. And so it was one side wins and one side loses. And instead, this is transformative to say, look, how do we actually get people to ride more? And ultimately, the goal would be these investments in micromobility sell themselves because people in the community start seeing, oh, people are actually using this. So the end state of all of this and the goal we're trying to get to is more people on bikes and walking. And I personally believe, and I think our team does, that that's the best way to sell investing more in micromobility. It's not like a hard push from us as, bureaucrats saying you have to do this. It really is people in our community, which is the minority, understanding there's value by seeing people walking more and riding bikes more. So that was in a simple way of explaining what we're trying to do here. But we need your support because a lot of people don't get it. They don't have the opportunity that you do to see this. And certainly if you think there'd be value, we'd be more than happy to do these presentations to all the local governments. If it would help you in terms of being champions, we're glad to do that.
Vice Chair Reese.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think in response to Mr. Thomas, what I would say is, yes, please make this presentation at the
Yes,
City of
please.
Reno. I can't imagine it would not be well received. What I will say too is what I took from this presentation was not just the sort of the infrastructure improvements, but each one of these projects represented investment in the communities where they were made and represented the hiring of workers who built those facilities. It involved working with businesses in those areas for their future success. Sometimes when they're going through it, they don't like it, but in the future. So I saw it also not only as just active transportation, the encouragement of that, but it's like investments in the community that result in jobs and economic diversification and sort of drive the economic engine of our region.
Yes, Mary Lawson.
So I want to just make sure we keep in mind everything we do is access to the river in Sparks. We have such a hard time to get to the river, getting past I-80 to start with, and then getting, McCarran is dangerous to ride a bicycle with a young child. Obviously, we were just at Sparks Boulevard. We're going to have that access to the river from Sparks Boulevard. We've got Vista widening coming up in 29, 30. We need to also have that access because we have the most beautiful asset in the country running through our cities, and without access to it, it really does us no good. So we're taking steps in Sparks to put people on the river instead of tilt-up concrete boxes. So just access. It was one of the great joys when my kids were little is for us to ride our bicycles down and ride the river path and have a little lunch down there and then go home safely. Right now, I wouldn't do it. I've done it with Councilman Abbott, but I put him on the traffic side.
Smart. Will the Gregg Street project connect to the river? Is there any? Because that could be amazing if there was some thought on that.
The Gregg Street project has been in the RTP for quite some time. As we look into that, is how to best make that happen, and once again provide that safe, reliable aspect of it, and not just put a bike lane. So we want to make sure we look at that corridor, and I think that's why you see a little higher dollar cost as we get through
Right.
Gregg Street.
Sure. Vice Chair Reese.
Thank you so much. And I'm sorry for being so excited about Mayor Lawson's comment. Look, the river is a critical piece for all of us. It's why we have reclassified the path along the river as a micromodal transportation corridor, because we do believe that there are strategic investments that would be made and led by RTC into that path. And so I think that the real thing is to figure out how to make sure that all three jurisdictions and the private landowners along the river and the Corps and the state and the tribes are all moving in the same direction. You've seen now the recent Riverside Berm project that has changed the nature of the path there along that very small stretch. And please, I hope that everyone is paying attention as the redevelopment agencies start to invest millions and millions of dollars into the river, because at the City of Reno, we have not had a lot of funds to direct at the river. The redevelopment agency is now starting to throw off tax increment that will allow us to do that. And so I hope that all the jurisdictions are paying attention to each jurisdiction's pieces of the puzzle. And RTC has to be doing the same thing. And of course, we work with you. The Arlington Bridges project is a good example. It is part of the vision for the river, the way it connects. We have commissioned now, I think, $6 million in each of the next 3 years out of the redevelopment agency that are going to go into the river path improvements, lighting, security, widening of paths. That all has to be done in a unified way so that when people enter the river in Sparks and exit it, in Reno, they have been on the same path, the same type of signage, the universal garbage cans, whatever it is, they're all working the same way. We have also committed to I don't know how this will work with you all, but I assume it would be with the design elements of it, right? And I think we have all said at this body, especially the mayor, who is not here with us this day, Mayor Shivi, that our goal was that RTC could be the hub that helps us to make sure that everything is uniformly done. So that's, the area behind the GSR, which they are going to have to make improvements to with their new arena project, the areas that we're making improvements to. How do we have coordination in that regard so that the Mayor Lawson's vision truly expands to the whole region?
And I know, Vanessa, not to put you on the spot, but you've been working with that committee, and that's probably a different agenda item, but it's somewhat connected to this ensuring that we're connecting multimodal functionality to the river. And how has that been going?
Yeah, happy to give an update. So we have one more interview to do that will conclude our stakeholder engagement. We've been working with the committee, working group, to develop a draft plan. And so once we have that final interview, we'll put that in the draft plan, make all of the suggestions, the changes that were proposed by the committee, and then we'll provide that to you all for your review. So we learned a lot in the process. I think there are some recommendations that speak to what you have described as far as coordinating and standardizing design elements, I guess just a framework really for what is this path and what does it do, right? So look forward to sharing that with you in the fall.
Mayor Lawson, did you have something?
Well, I'm going to ask you to coordinate too with Flood Board because obviously they're touching the river all the way from Verdi to the Vista
Same
Narrows.
thing.
Huh?
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing.
The new plans for Mill Street and between Rock and McCarran, pretty amazing. But once again, hard access from Sparks to get to the other side of the river. So, but those things don't forget about Sparks,
No,
please.
we don't. We absolutely don't. And the flood board is on our committee, our working group.
Perfect. Perfect.
That's great. And do you have anything, Commissioner Garcia? I'm just also really excited about the South Virginia multimodal corridor. I was dumped out from Holcomb onto South Virginia, and I was so scared on my bike. I was like, I've never been so scared riding my bike before. So I'm very excited that that's coming up as well. Okay, if there's nothing else from the board on this, we'll continue to support you and push our jurisdictions to think differently and appreciate your work on this because we're all very excited about it. Thank you. Okay, we'll move to 5.3. This is a presentation on the Locust Taylor Kerman Wells Corridor Study Update.
Good morning. My name is Xuan Wang, Transportation Planning Manager with RTC. Today I'm going to give an update on the Locust Taylor Kerman Wells Corridor Study. I'm the project manager. Glad to be here. So in the overall planning to implementation process, we started with the Unified Planning Work Program. This is a 2-year program that documents the MPO's planning activities and studies. So during the current cycle of the UPWP, the City of Reno recommended this study due to the high crash rates on these corridors. And this study was also recommended by the Neighborhood Network Plan. Results and recommendations from the study will be prioritized in the regional transportation plan, and the prioritized projects will then roll into the regional transportation improvement program. After that is the street and highway interlocal cooperative agreement for the 2-year outlook, and then the annual capital and the operating budget for the final implementation. For the study timeline, we started this project in September of last year. We contracted with Parametrics and GCW to work on this task. We have done agency collaboration throughout the study and did the existing conditions analysis in December of 2025. Developed alternatives in May of this year, and conducted a public outreach in June and July. So we plan to have the draft report presentation in December and aiming for adoption in January of next year. So this map here shows the study area. It includes the Wells Avenue, Locust Street, Kerman Avenue, and the Taylor Street. And the project limits are from Mill Street to Plum Lane, Holcomb Avenue, and Kiski Lane. The purpose of the study is to improve safety, mobility, and operations for all modes of transportation. For data collection and analysis, we reviewed the related documents, including the 2050 RTP, the Active Transportation Plan, the Central Reno Midtown Neighborhood Network Plan, the Transit Operation Optimization Plan Strategies, the Reimagine Reno and Wells Avenue Neighborhood Plan. We received crash data from NDOT and the City of Reno and did site visits and collected the traffic, bicycle, and pedestrian counts. A focus of this study is to reduce the total numbers and the severities of the crashes along these corridors. From 2020 to 2024, there were about 430 crashes in the study area. 32 of them involved pedestrians or cyclists. So about half of the crashes happened on Wells Avenue. Existing conditions analysis showed the multimodal considerations, including intersection and crosswalk safety, incomplete bike lanes on Wells Avenue, and no bike facilities on other roadways. For agency collaborations, we've done project steering committee meetings to coordinate with our partner agencies and did one-on-one meetings with City of Reno, Washoe County School District, and the NDOT. We also gave presentations to the RTC Advisory Committee. For public outreach, we conducted an online survey in both Spanish and English from June 2nd to July 10th. We had a great social media and broadcast coverage and received 273 responses. We also hosted a Wells Avenue pop-up meeting to engage the community, talk with the residents and users of these corridors, and get their input about transportation concerns and recommendations for the study. We distributed a bilingual flyer to advertise the online survey and ask for people's participation. We also did door-to-door visits to over 40 businesses along the corridors. We talked with the business owners and the employees about their opinions on the improvements of the transportation along these corridors, and shared information on how to have them continuously participate in this study. We did outreach to the community groups and the Reno Ward 3 Neighborhood Advisory Board. So the survey was just closed last Friday, so we're still working on analyzing the data and the responses. But here are some preliminary themes we got from the initial review. The top transportation needs are safety, crosswalk and lighting, and bicycle facilities. So this quote from a comment we received kind of touched on several of the highlights, including bike and pedestrian safety, sight distance, speeding, and also crosswalk safety with flashing beacons. During the survey, we also asked people's opinions on some of the recommendations for the corridors. So the picture on the left shows the Kerman and Locust Street situation. So these are both one-way streets with the 2 auto lanes right now. The data showed that these streets have low traffic volumes and can be handled by 1 travel lane. So just having the extra lane encourage drivers to speed, which creates an unsafe situation, and the bicyclists have to compete with the vehicles. So the recommendation is to convert 1 auto lane to a bike lane and have just 1 auto lane for each street. So we received 71% of support from the respondents to support this recommendation. And another recommendation is to extend the complete street on Wells Avenue further north to Stewart Street. So we received 80% of support. We also asked some other recommendations, but overall we receive about 70 to 80% of support for those recommendations. So we're still analyzing the surveys. These numbers actually went up by the time we collected all the survey data when the survey closed. So from now to August, we're gonna keep working on analyzing survey results, do analysis, and develop a draft report. So from September to December, we will reach out to the community to get more public input and start a public comment period, and also give presentations to the advisory committee and the board to get more input for the draft report, and aiming for January of 2027 for the final approval. So that's my presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I was curious, when was the last time, didn't RTC do the roundabouts on Wells Avenue, or were those City of Reno? Do you know when you were doing these plans?
So we had a complete street project on Wells, but is I think the north end is Roberts Street. So this recommendation this time was to study the whole corridor and see if there's any safety improvements we can do, and also the operations and the multimodal considerations we can address.
Okay.
So.
Well, this is a gem of a neighborhood, and so many people walk in this neighborhood because there's so many things to walk to. So this is great that this is a priority. I'll go to Vice Chair Reese first.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Dr. Wing. Let me ask about the study area map, if we can pull that up. Look, like Chair Hill, this neighborhood is an incredibly cool neighborhood, and it has got a lot going on in it. I also think I'm sort of trying to figure out how RTC overlays with sort of a broader thing, which I have in mind, which is, first of all, the hospital may soon not be there, right? A couple of these schools are going to be closed and maybe repurposed. And so how does our work that we do today take into account those realities, even though the reality of the VA maybe not being there is maybe it's 10 years out. It could be 15 with the federal government. I don't know. But we know that eventually it will not be there, and that a couple of these schools are actively being closed, right? We have Worcester, which will go through some transportation. Veterans is to be closed or repurposed. Is it Dodson across the street from Worcester? What's the smaller?
That's Roger Corbett.
Oh, Roger Corbett, that's right. So I'm just saying, how do we take into account those things, or do we? Maybe we don't, I don't know.
Yes, we have reached out to the VA and worked closely with the Washoe County School District. Like you said, the VA, there are a lot of uncertainties, but we are working with them, and we'll continue to reach out to them to get their input. That's definitely a important consideration. And for the Washoe County School District, there are some changes with these schools, but overall, there will be still school students in these areas. So combined with the residential multifamily homes on these corridors, is still very important to make sure the pedestrian and the bicyclists are safe when they travel along these corridors. We keep that in mind. These corridors will be used by students. We want to make sure it's intuitive and easy for them to use. That's why we think it's important to provide that dedicated bike lane, so they don't have to share and compete space with the vehicles.
Well, I think this neighborhood may be the most walkable, most bikeable area of Reno, right? Just because it's mostly pancake flat. Hard to bicycle in my neighborhood, but just with my old legs. But no, I think this is great information. I think it's a great project. I'm grateful for your update. A lot of this stuff is very exciting, and I hope people are not sleeping on this particular neighborhood, because I think this is kind of the it place. It's pretty cool.
Commissioner Garcia.
Yes, I had a similar question as Commissioner, oh my gosh.
Reese.
I need more coffee, y'all. I have the heat map pulled up, and I found that really interesting. And my first thought, I leaned over and asked Bill, what improvements have taken place along South Wells. And besides the roundabouts, there really hasn't been a whole lot of love or attention to this stretch of road. And it's really scary. And the heat map really goes to show. I was curious if you knew what the bright spot on the southern end of it with the yellow dot in the middle, what businesses are, I'm just trying to orient myself to the crashes that have occurred. Is it Magpie, La Condesa? Is it that roundabout?
At Vassar there.
Okay.
So that's the Vassar and the Wells around the intersection. So and also this map shows crash data from 2020 to 2024. So the City of Reno and RTC, we have also noticed these high crash locations and already made some improvements along Wells. The effect may not have shown on this map, but during the site visit, we looked along the Wells Avenue, noticed there's some lighting improvement and also flashing beacon installed on some of the key intersections. So hopefully those have already taken into effect and reduced the crash rates along Wells. For the Vassar and Wells intersection, I believe there's some modifications on the intersection layout through other projects, and we'll try to address the concern over there. Yeah, so
it's very scary, and I don't know if any of you have tried to turn left recently on any section of Wells. It's really challenging. So I think this is a very valuable area of town to focus on, and I think the safety needs speak for themselves. My question relates to Councilmember Reese. I keep wanting to call you Vice Mayor Reese, but we're at RTC, so I call you Commissioner. It's confusing. So if the VA goes away and the schools are repurposed, what's going to happen to Route 13? What do we do internally? Because I know that it was around 2020 where the bus route, the fixed route, was moved off of Wells into the neighborhood onto Kerman. I assume it was to accommodate the VA traffic and folks trying to get to and from the hospital. So what do we do internally if, fast forward, these highly populated services are moved and displaced throughout the community? Do we, as an agency, kind of relook at the data on Route? I see Jim nodding his head. We'll look at the ridership on Route 13. It just seems like a lot of the activity could be gone. Thank you, Jim.
Yeah, so two things would happen if the VA hospital would move. First, we would propose extending the Virginia line, so it travels northward around the north side of the university to the new VA hospital. because that would just be a logical terminus. But also, we have such a strong ridership base. It makes a lot of sense to have that strong ridership base connected to our busiest route and our most frequent route. Secondly, in response to your question, for this neighborhood, we would have to take a look at basically the pickups and drop-offs, look at wells, which we know there's demand on wells, look at the two one-way pairs that are there today, and basically, we would figure something out. But that is too big of an area and too popular an area for us to not do anything.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
Mayor Lawson? Okay. Yes, I think that these investments will be well worth it, especially when you try to cross. It's so far away, it feels like, as a pedestrian, if you try to cross Wells Avenue. So when we do those bump outs and make it less of a straightaway, or I'm not sure what the plan is, but to really invest in those crosswalks will be huge as well. So if there's no other commissioner comments, we're looking forward to this coming forward to us as you continue to get the outreach. And thank you for your initial outreach and pulling the plan together. Can't wait to see it.
Thank you.
you. Okay, we will now move to our reports. We have a verbal update from RTC Executive Director Bill Thomas. No action.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So the first thing I want to do is, the fun part of doing these announcements each month is to really acknowledge some of the great things that happen. And this one is particularly special because of not only the effort that its staff put into this, but also I think the consistent and continuous championing of this project by Commissioner Garcia. So I think you've all heard, but I want to publicly announce that we did receive a US DOT award for the full amount, which is $25 million for the Sun Valley Boulevard project. And I just want to share, for those of you who aren't used to this process, when you turn in these applications, it's not often guaranteed you're going to get the maximum amount. In fact, more often than not, when you look through them, you get a portion of what you asked for. So I want to say thanks to our team, because this was one of the better applications. And I think our team, I don't have to motivate them. They always try to one-up themselves. So I think the quality of this application and the ability to translate the need to the community into an application for somebody who doesn't know anything about us to read and give us the award is something to celebrate. So with this funding, it really was the last piece of the puzzle in doing the much-needed and long-awaited improvements to Sun Valley Boulevard. So we will now be moving forward. We've got much of the design complete, and now we'll be moving forward to the construction phase. And I do want to acknowledge that the project wouldn't have happened if it wasn't, in great part, a reflection of the excellent partnership we have with NDOT, because this is a change to the way we do business. It's an NDOT road. It's been a burden on NDOT to come up with a solution, but they work very closely with us to kind of bring a bunch of players together to solve a problem that seemed to be unsolvable. So NDOT will be putting in $33 million. RTC will be adding approximately $20 million. And I need to acknowledge that our two senators, Senator Cortez Masto and Rosen, put in $2.5 million from their congressionally directed spending for the project. And without the help of Senator Cortez Masto, Senator Rosen, and Congressman Amodei, very likely we wouldn't have received this grant. So a lot of thanks to go around. It's an $80 million investment in the community, and one that we think will benefit the Sun Valley residents, not only in the near term, but for the long time. So again, I would just want to thank our team, our consultants at NCE for submitting a great grant application that was very successful. Now I want to do something a little different in my announcements. So I'm going to ask Josh and Paul to come up, and we're going to talk about another award that we're feeling pretty good about, that recognizes the quality of our public transportation system. So, gentlemen.
Yeah, Paul Nelson, RTC Government Affairs Officer. As most of you know, we put together a video you guys participated in. We wanted to thank you guys for it. Well, that video is completed. We submitted our application. It was a real team effort. We had the fun job. We got to interview people, go get video of buses, video of mechanics, customer service. Jim did the heavy lifting. He put together about a 12-page report with the quantitative data in it. So we did successfully submit that. Councilman Reese, we would have had you as part of it, but I think you're off doing more fun things. But I'll turn over to Josh now.
Yeah, you guys don't get to see me very often at these meetings. Josh McEachern, Public Information Officer. I just want to thank you all for participating. When we ask you to do cool, fun stuff, you don't always get to see the results of those things. It's very easy when it's a ribbon cutting, a groundbreaking, any of the many events that the comms team is working on behind the scenes to highlight the efforts of the organization. But now we get to show you a fun video for this APTA System of the Year Award nomination, which we think we're in strong contention for, just based on the successes we've had this past year.
What's incredible is that we are seeing growth in our ridership month over month. Once folks are hooked in, they realize that they can get around Reno, Sparks, Washoe County relatively easily and for a low cost or for free if you're a kid.
The ridership growth says a lot about how we're communicating with the public.
All the kids that need to get to school and the university students, and having that partnership with the university and the Washoe County School District is such a creative way to help drive up attendance.
Making it easier for kids to, number one, get on there, and two, start using it at a younger age, I think builds that ridership for the future.
That program has offered rides and free passes to nearly 5,000 of our students this year. That equates to about 150,000 free rides taken by Washoe County School District students. This removed barriers for kids and made it easier for families to get their children to school safely.
I was able to get around Reno very simply, especially when I just share my Wolf card. The Virginia line especially, which is one I use, runs every 10 minutes, which is awesome.
The most important is that they have a bus service at every time of the day, and it's a free for students, employees, which make life much easier.
You know, as a Latina myself, it's always a great sense of pride when I see an agency like RTC really stepping in and doing the work. We have a growing, thriving Latino population here in Northern Nevada, Washoe County, and RTC has gone above and beyond, I would say, in the last couple of years.
We want to make sure that seniors can get to their doctor's appointments, that they can visit family and friends. We want to support our seniors in having a great lifestyle, and we want to make sure that Washoe RTC is always a partner for them.
Technology is at the core of everything we do. It's how we do business now.
And I also like the tap to pay. Just tap it on it and then you can buy your bus ticket, which I think is really cool. And on top of that, we have free Wi-Fi on the bus.
There's an app on your phone, you click on it, you get your ticket, tells you where your bus is, the times that it runs. Couldn't be easier, buy your tickets. It really is a super easy technology-based system.
I personally don't think that there is another agency that is more innovative, forward-thinking. They understand community, they understand safety, things that matter in a community.
Hello, this is U.S. Senator Catherine Cortez Masto. I want to share my full support for RTC Washoe's application for the APTA System of the Year Award. I have always been proud to support the RTC in their goals to enhance safety, improve quality of life, and increase mobility across our region. From their transformational infrastructure projects, to their investments in clean energy, to providing multiple transit options to accommodate all residents, RTC Washoe has my strong recommendation for this great honor and deserved recognition.
Yeah, that's great.
Well, thank you guys. I think it's a good representation of not only the collaboration among the teams here at RTC, but the leadership of this board that we're able to carve out time every now and then to get you to do some fun advertising things with us and some fun communications things. I'd be remiss if I didn't give some kudos to the RTC communications team, on the Celtis team who helped us develop the video, and of course Public Transit who helped us actually get a lot of the statistics that we needed to get this application to where I think is very strong to win this national award.
So shooting for the moon.
Will that award be when Vice Chair Reese and I are in, Chicago? Is that when that will be announced?
So Jim says
Okay.
yes. So
Jim's on a microphone. Yes.
Yes, okay.
A lot of pressure now, right?
All right.
But again, just thank you all so much for helping us create, better communications, tell RTC's story better. When we pull you aside, we know that it's daunting on your time. You're all very busy people, but we promise it goes towards good things.
So moving on, I want to talk about another award that we're under consideration for. So it's an honor for us to be considered for the Innovation Award from APTA, the American Public Transit Association. And they provide this award each year for agencies that have demonstrated innovative concepts and effective problem-solving techniques. So the reason we're being considered, and it's something that I was made aware of recently, that I knew we were doing it, but I didn't realize it was cutting edge, is the way we've been able to successfully address some of our access and special service issues by partnering with TNCs or transportation network companies like Uber, Lyft, and then also I'd point out the taxis, as well as using AI with scheduling and customer service. So we are actually, Jim told me, we were invited to a meeting with a bunch of our peers, many of them much bigger than us, and they were pleasantly surprised and actually asked us a lot of questions because they had not really gone to this level of integrating with TNC. So it's kind of cool to be on the cutting edge with national partners on something that they are looking at and asking us questions about how to do it. So I wanted to share that with the board because it's something I'm very proud of, and I think it reflects, again, the passion that the employees of RTC bring to the job. The last comment I want to make today is I want to thank Chair Hill and Mayor Sheevy for attending an event on 4th Street for the 4th Street Downtown Project. This was done, I think, briefly or shortly before 4th of July parade. The improvements will go a long way, especially for pedestrians, cyclists, and people with disabilities. In particular, of note were the lights that were added to the core that look great and provide a perfect timing, as I said, for the 4th of July event where they shine brightly with red, white, and blue colors. Pretty special thing that acknowledges not only the improvements we've done for transportation, but also our ability to integrate it into a thriving and growing district in the city of Reno. So I want to thank Scott Gibson, who's the project manager, for leading this project, and also the comms teams for setting up this event. So, Madam Chair, that concludes my comments for today.
Thank you very much. And that new connection for cyclists on Vine and 4th is great. So check it out. You can push the crossing as a cyclist. It's a perfect height. And so that's how much Scott just cares about making those details, as part of the project manager. So I was impressed. I've been watching it come together on one of my commutes. So that's great. Thank you so much. Any questions for the director? Not seeing any. All right. We'll now move to 6.2. This is a verbal update and message from Paul Nelson, RTC Government Affairs Officer on Federal Matters.
Good morning again. Paul Nelson, RTC Government Affairs Officer. I should have had Celtis put together a video for this. It would make the federal government a lot more exciting. So both the Senate Environment and Public Works and the House T&I Committee chairs say they expect to pass a short-term extension of the IIJA, and that's really to buy more time as they work through both chambers towards reauthorization. The House Ways and Means Committee still has to mark up the Build America 250 Act before it can reach the floor. Some of the conflicts around that involve the EV fees and the hybrid fees. We don't expect much movement on this until after Congress returns back from their August recess. We also don't expect the THUD bill to pass anytime soon. That'll reach the House floor sometime after the August recess, more than likely, so expect a stopgap measure as we've seen in previous years. That'll happen this fall to buy some extra time to pass the appropriations bill for fiscal year 27. As Bill mentioned, DOT awarded RTC the maximum of $25 million for the build grant. All total, it awarded $1.73 billion. $1.3 billion of that went towards roads and bridges. The EPA has issued a proposed rule change for NEPA procedures. The goal is to speed up the environmental process for things like infrastructure, energy, transportation, and water projects. The rule would cap environmental impact statements at 100 pages, require EPA to complete EIS work in 2 years, narrow reviews, and simplify the processes of establishing and adopting categorical exclusions. And that concludes my report.
Thank you for the update. Any questions for Mr. Nelson? No, not seeing any. All right, thank you. We'll now move to 6.3. This is our verbal update message from NDOT. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, and I'll be very brief today. I'm going to start off, this year marks the 70th anniversary of Interstate Highway System, and in conjunction with our nation's 250th anniversary, the U.S. Library of Congress and U.S. DOT hosted speakers to celebrate Interstate System anniversary. And Director Larkin was one of the 3 directors in the nation had the opportunity to speak at this event. In the opening remarks for this event, Federal Highway Administrator Sean McMaster emphasized that our reliance on our interstate system is absolute, and Director Larkins had the opportunity to highlight how this is particularly true in Nevada. Interstate 80 connects our state to major markets from the Pacific to America's heartland. Also, Interstate 15 serves as a vital north-south corridor supporting the commerce, tourism, and freight movement throughout the Southwest. Unlike many other regions in the country, the Western U.S. Has very little redundancy in the transportation network. So this reliability of our interstate system is very fundamental to keep goods moving, business operating, and communities connected. So once again, I think this was a great opportunity for us to highlight Nevada and the challenges that we have, and also it was an honor to speak at the Library of Congress. Also, I wanted to mention to the board here that last month, Governor Joe Lombardo sent a letter to US DOT identifying high-profile highway corridors for our strategic federal investment as part of US DOT Freedom to Drive initiative. These initiatives focus on fast-tracking projects to alleviate congestion, choke points, and leveraging Americans' technology in a private sector partnership. Nationwide, the governors identified congestion thoroughfares in the states and outlined actionable steps. How do we address them? Nevada identified 4 corridors that represents the highest priorities: expanding capacity, safety, and multiple other factors. And I-80 is one of the corridors that we highlighted that is probably more particular interest for this board, along with 3 other corridors throughout the state.
What were the other 3 corridors?
I'm sure you were going to ask that. So I-15 south corridor down south, Henderson system interchange, and then US 95 corridor as well. Okay. I-80 is number 1. We had 4 corridors identified, like I said, I-80, US 95, Henderson interchange, and then I-15 south corridor.
That's great.
And that concludes my update there.
Thank you so much. Okay, any questions from the board? Not seeing any. We will now move on to item 7. This is Commissioner announcements and updates. Any updates? Yes, Commissioner Garcia.
I do not have an update. I just wanted to extend my deepest gratitude, like Bill had said earlier about the Sun Valley Boulevard Corridor Improvement Project. He gave thanks to USDOT, NDOT, our congressional delegates, the RTC team, and the grant writers. But I just wanted to say a huge shout out to my colleagues here at the dais, representing the city of Reno, city of Sparks, and Washoe County on being so supportive of this. It felt like Groundhog's Day over and over again trying to apply for these grants, and you all hung in there. And thank you to Bill for making this a federal priority. It's going to be transformative for this area of the county. So special thanks to each of you.
Thank you. And I'm curious, Bill, when do you think you could come with some initial presentations on this corridor for the commission, the Washoe County Commission? Because I think the community doesn't appreciate what this is going to be.
We can do that in fairly short order. So let me take a look at what's on the agenda for next month. We'll try to get it on for next month. And I want to make sure we have it on an agenda where there's plenty of time to actually run through it. So we'll get it on.
Don't rush. I just want to make sure that, just because I think this is going to be a really great project and the investments are going to be transformative. So just want to make sure that the community hears about it.
We'll do it sooner than later.
Okay, thank you. Do you have anything, Mayor?
Pushing everything till after September.
Yeah.
I know. I'm like, wait a second. What's that timeline? Okay. Do you have anything else? Okay. All right. Well, we will now move to public comment. Item 8, Madam Clerk.
No public comments.
Okay. All right, everyone. Thank you for a great meeting. It's 10:44. We are adjourned.